Welcome back, everybody, to another video. Unfortunately, we're at the shop again. The 7's on the jack stands again. And the engine is out again. Yeah. So, the video with my clutch going out, it was filmed in early spring. We're now the beginning of summer. This is the last week of June. And I've been driving the RX-7 the whole time since the video. The Evo got rear-ended, so this was in the body shop. So when I didn't have the rental car, I had to daily this. Drove it up to St. Louis to visit my buddy, and the rack started leaking. If you remember a couple of videos ago, we refreshed the whole front end. The only thing I didn't refresh was the rack. So that happened. There's an oil leak here, and I thought it was coming from this valve, this VVL solenoid, but like the gasket around it. But it appears you can see it all above, so I think it's the valve cover. So I pulled the engine to replace the rack and change that VVL. While I've been driving it around, my oil temps were getting hotter than I wanted. So I'm also changing this. Give you guys a recap. I run stock FD RX-7 oil coolers. One right there, one over there. But I had this one as a power steering cooler, and I had this one as the oil cooler. This fan had fallen off of my cooler, and that's why my temps were getting hotter than I wanted. But we're still going to re-engineer the whole setup. So I now have RX-8 oil coolers. Here's one. The other one's over there. The fins are a little better. I've also gone through and fixed some of these. But these are also one row taller, but none of that's the important thing. We're going to go to twin oil coolers. I had already bought an HKS thermostat to see if that fixed it. And it did lower the temperatures, but then it would heat soak because the fan wasn't on it. Should have done my due diligence, but the car's always, I felt, had a pressure issue at temperatures, or had a temperature issue on oil. Like I would do, say, 3, 4, 5 full pulls down Mexico. And then the oil would start getting thin, and I don't have the temperature set up on my digital display. I only have oil pressure, so I would see the oil pressure. Anyway, I don't want to ramble in this video. What we're doing is I found out the power steering rack is actually an O-ring that is bad. I have both O-rings taken off of this. But an O-ring, actually the O-ring is there. That O-ring went bad and caused the leak. We're going to switch to twin oil coolers, and I'm going to come up with a new way to mount them to where they're going to sit like this in here. Yeah, you can see there. I've fixed all the fins. But yeah, we're gonna do that. We're fixing the rack, and if you can see, my brake master is out of the car. We were running a 3/4 single piston master, and I don't think the single piston is big enough to push these big old brakes. It's just too much. So I went and did some research. And this is a Honda Civic SI or 96 to 2000 Civic with ABS. It is a 7/8 master, and it is dual piston. So this should give us a lot more fluid coming out from one pedal press. What's been going on the whole time since I deleted my master and went to that is I had to pump the brake. Or like, you know, if you're in the toge, the fluid stays in there. But for street driving, it's very dangerous. So, okay. I went to my work and cut the plate out real fast. Had to drill those 6 holes. And then we had to countersink these 2 holes. And then I had to bore this out. And I did. I had to use tooling. You can see the serration marks. But anyway, we got all that. I just went and got some bolts, and we're going to bolt this together. So I've reworked my hard line to fit here. This is the proportioning valve for the rear brakes. I have it screwed all the way in now. This is your front brakes, and this is your rear brakes on this. So it's all bolted together, and now all we got to do is put these in, but I'm noticing that that hole is not accessible anymore. So yeah, apparently I got to unbolt everything and put that bolt in there. Here's it installed. I'm still working on the lines, but the rear brakes are done. Hard line into the proportioning valve, and then the factory hard line back to the rear. The front is going to be like this. There'll be a T, a -3T right here, and I'm gonna go get one of these lines made for here to here, and then here to there. But this will actually sit way back there. But yeah, like that. So it looks a little less busy than it did before. But I'll show you with it all installed the next clip. And I think now we move to the oil coolers or reinstall the rack. Okay, now that we got that done, I haven't decided whether I want it straight or angled down, but that's done until we put the engine back in. Now we're moving to the oil coolers. Just to recap, I was using FD oil coolers. Now I'm using RX8 oil coolers. They are 1 row taller, and I just found out they are 1 size smaller on the inlet versus these. This is the one that came out of the old one, and you can see it doesn't fit. So went and got new fittings for that. I got steel 45 degree, and then we're gonna mock it in there and try to make a bracket. Sorry for the noise, we'll cut it off. And then this kind of gives you an idea what I've been doing. So down here it's bolted like that, and what we're trying to do is keep this shroud where it's supposed to go. Right there, right there, right there. It's just barely touching the fan, but that's fine. And this exit, this has something to exit from. We're not touching the motor. We're used to I was touching the motor. And this is the bottom bracket. Just real simple. And yeah, it's fucking solid. So but yeah, that's mounted. This sits here, right there, that closes, so we're all good. I also went and mounted the power steering cooler, because used to this one was power steering, that one was oil. Now both of these are oil, and I have a smaller power steering cooler. I mounted it there. You can see it gets enough airflow. Went home, came back, I'm wearing my clean clothes that I put on after I finished working on the car earlier, but I decided I didn't want to just sit and do nothing, so I put the new O-rings on the hard lines for the rack, reinstalled the rack, reinstalled the fittings. The engine is back in the car. I've got all new oil lines made. It looks like that's touching the motor mount, but it's not. So it comes out of the oil pump, goes out to that oil cooler, comes out that oil cooler, goes into this oil cooler, comes out that oil cooler, goes to the filter, and then out the filter back to the block. So all that's done. I have this side zip tied up and pretty. I don't have that side yet. But yeah, that part's done. Now we need to do the power steering lines up here. So we need to connect those, connect the hard line, put the pump on. But yeah, moving right along. That manifold looks so good. So I got the power steering line on. We have the high pressure line is the middle one, and then the two outside ones are low pressure, and I have those ran to a Y, which all this is the old setup, but then that line came out and went down to the oil cooler, or well, the oil cooler that I repurposed. Now it comes up, does that 90 in, and then it goes 90 out, goes up. It should be underneath the oil cooler and in between, or underneath the intercooler and in between the radiator, because the radiator sits like here, and then the intercooler bolts right here, and then it goes to the top of the overflow. And then the inlet I had left the same as well, but a little more progress. I also had all this wiring up here and it looked messy, so I've done this and I think it looks neater. Give you a different angle. This is intercooler fans, but I don't have those anymore. I got the factory fender liner back on with the oil cooler done. All the lines are ran and zip tied and tightened and all that. Also, the factory overflow tank sat right here, and I got rid of it to move the power steering cooler here. So I whipped up a overflow tank real fast. So just the bottom, it comes out the top here, goes in the bottom here, and if it ever fills up to here, it will spit out down there instead of spraying out up here. So ready to put that back on. I realized my throttle cable was fraying. You can see right here. Turn the light back off. Yeah, it's breaking. It was catching on the lip of the throttle body. So I bought a new one and insulated it. Got that all ran. Everything's on up here. I just need to put the cover back on and put the slave cylinder on. But then we'll bleed the brakes. So I think this kind of wraps up this video. We did a lot. At the start, we did the new brake master cylinder. We did twin oil coolers, the power steering, did the overflow tank. I fixed some leaks, the valve cover and this front seal. So we did quite a bit. I thought I should close the video out showing you the templates that I made for the bottom of the oil cooler tray. So that's the template, then it turns into this. I spray painted the edge so it's black instead of silver. And you can see I have an OEM S4 lip, but I only have the center because the two sides actually are made like the rear side skirt spat, I guess. So it comes down like that. And I didn't like that, so it's been removed, which is why you have the middle lip but not the two sides. But anyway, now there's a little black edge, as you can see, and this one's not tight yet, and I've got to put a couple more screws in it, but that's what it looks like. And now you can see it's all enclosed. So there's still a gap there, but you're not really, I mean, I could have like folded it up, but I think it's fine. That's a lot better than having the hole right there letting air right out. But I'm letting the battery charge, and then I'm going to install the other side, and then we're just down to fluids. So I'm not going to film any of that, but I think it looks pretty cool. We're going to have a lot colder oil temps, which is great. We fixed oil leaks, which is always good. We fixed the power steering leak, which is great. So yeah, we hopefully, this whole year has been me street tuning it and trying to get it reliable enough to where I can go to the dyno, do some hits, do some timing adjustments to get some more power. We're almost there. Sorry it's been a year, but you know, I don't need peak numbers anyway. The 400 plus horsepower it has now is plenty, except for when I'm on the highway trying to do 100 something. But yeah, until next time, guys.